discussion on the impact of maternity on careers in tech. My name is Dr. Emma Waltham, and I'm a maternity returner specialist, and I work predominantly in the STEM sector, so with tech women and organisations. So I'm really delighted to be here to talk to you today about this really important subject. It's fantastic that we're encouraging women to come into tech careers, but maternity is a real pinch point for women in their careers, not just in the tech sector, but across the board. But it's particularly difficult for women when they're in male-dominated environments and they can't see women having children and being able to blend their careers with family life successfully. That there aren't templates for that. So I think it's just great that we're talking about this subject. And it's something that I'm really passionate about. So I'm going to start by telling you a bit about how I came to specialise in this area. So I started out my career in STEM. I've got a chemistry PhD. And over time, I moved into different areas. So I've worked in different sectors like media and recruitment. And my career went pretty well. And I rose up to executive director level when I was in my mid-30s. So it was going pretty well, my career. And then I hit a bit of a roadblock because I had children, and it was really difficult at that time for me to carry on with my career. So I took a career break. And when I went back to work, when my children were small, I thought I'd be able to just pick up where I left off, but it wasn't really that straightforward for various reasons. Obviously, I changed, and also it's a bit more difficult to get into it when you've got a career gap. So I decided to set up my own business. And over the last 6 or 7 years, I've come to specialise in working with organisations to help them support maternity returners. So that they have a better experience than I had. So I was working in a male-dominated environment where there weren't people with children at senior levels working flexibly. I was doing a lot of travel in Europe. I'm based just near London, but also in Asia. And so it was really difficult for me to see how I could sort of marry up being a mum with having that kind of role. So it's something that's really important to me, and something that clearly is important to you if you're watching today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time to look at kind of what the lived experience is for women going through the maternity transition, and then we're going to look at how we can help. So whether we're on that pathway ourselves, or whether we're working with women as managers or HR or colleagues, or if we're partners of women going through this major life change. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about what it's like for women as they become mothers in the workplace. So we're really looking at this through a sort of professional workplace lens. Obviously, having a baby is a wonderful experience. It brings so much to our lives. It's really enriching. But it's true to say it's really disruptive. So right from pregnancy and birth, there's a really strong physical signal that women have chosen motherhood, and that can really trigger people to make assumptions and stereotypes about women when they've chosen to become a mother. So there's sort of maternity bias that can happen, and it can affect women at work in terms of kind of opportunities they're offered, promotion, pay rises, and so on. And obviously for women themselves, it's a big change. It's a change physically and emotionally and sort of practically as well. So going through this change can affect people's feelings about their identity, priorities and goals. They've got someone really important, more important than themselves now. That can change kind of their priorities and goals. And also taking a break from work. So here in the UK, it's very common for women to take 6 to 12 months off when they have a baby, away from paid work. Obviously, maternity leave is a busy time. And that does vary, in different parts of the world. But certainly any sort of extended time away from work can make us feel more detached from work and our kind of personal self. We can lose touch with that, and that can affect confidence on the return to work. And there's other emotions as well, like guilt, grief, really, at going back to work and leaving your baby with someone else. And there's also sort of practical things around, dropping a child off at nursery and, and all the extra work that kids create and having to deal with that while working as well. So there's lots going on there at a personal level. But there's also, things that happen in the organisation as well and in society at large, which impact on women. I'm going to look at those now. So I'm afraid I can't see the chat. So I'm going to ask you some questions and feel free to put the answer in the chat, but, at least have a think about the answer before I tell you what it is. So the first question I've got is how much work in the home, such as chores, admin, shopping, cleaning, childcare, do women do compared to men? So women do more work in the home than men. It depends what research you look at, but typically the answer comes out at about twice as much. And there's a particular study that I'm going to share with you, a 2018 global diversity study, which looked at countries across the world, and it found that generally women did, twice as much work in the home as men. And this is important because what it means is that women are doing kind of full-time job often in the home before they even go out to do paid work. So that's often why they ask for flexible working, because they need to work around these are the commitments. And it also says something about how women aren't able to participate as fully in the workplace because they're doing this unpaid work disproportionately to men. And I think it speaks to the fact as well that equality needs to begin at home. And if women aren't equal at home, then they're not going to be able to be equal in the workplace. They're going to be held back from participating. So it's really important. Another question here. What percentage of women assumed primary responsibility for childcare or homeschooling in the pandemic? Well, it probably won't surprise you that, again, about 70% of women took that on, so much more than likely than men. This was a study that was done in the UK by BBC and Kantar Public, but other studies around the world carried out in the US by the UN have found similarly that women, when there was a crisis, were the ones that kind of stepped up and took on these extra responsibilities. So again, that's something that women have to bear in mind when they're going back to work, that they're probably the ones that are going to have to deal with it if there's an issue. How much bigger does the gender pay gap become when women hit their 40s? The gender pay gap is a representation of how much women are paid compared to men. It's average hourly pay. And in the UK, there was a study published in December last year, 2021, which showed that the gender pay gap quadrupled when women got to their 40s. This was released, this study by the Office of National Statistics. And what they found was that it was the impact of motherhood. Women weren't getting into those managerial positions because of motherhood. And this meant that they were earning less than men in their 40s and beyond. And again, those types of trends we do see globally as well. It's not just in the UK. How much more likely are working dads to be promoted than working mums? Well, here in the UK in 2018, they were about twice as likely to be promoted as working mums. And the reasons for that are because of biases, really. So when men become dads, they're assumed to be more committed at work because they're the breadwinner and they're more likely to be promoted. Whereas when women have become mothers, they're perceived as being less capable and less ambitious, and they're less likely to be given pay rises or promotions. So all this has a big impact, on working women. This is some of the quotes that women have told me in my work with them. I work one-to-one with women and also work in organisations. So I hear a lot about what women have to say, particularly in the STEM sector. So it impacts on them financially massively because they earn less at work and in their working lives. In the UK, it's about the amount of money that they earn less than men is equivalent to an average sized home over their lifetime. And this doesn't affect them only when they're at work, it affects them in their pension, in their retirement, because their pension's usually about half the amount of money that men have. Yeah, so it's a lot less. And as well as affecting women individually, it also affects businesses as well, and it affects their profitability. We know that more diverse workforces are more profitable. There's research by McKinsey & Co, which is great to look at, and shows that when you've got gender diversity at senior levels, businesses do better because of that diversity of thought, and also because, you know, if women are able to participate at work and come back and be productive, and be promoted and carry on their career pathways, then companies are retaining that talent, and that is really important. Yeah. So I've talked a lot about sort of the negative, I suppose, impacts on professional lives for women when they have babies, and it is a major pinch point in women's careers. But there's lots we can do to improve the situation. And if you're a woman looking at working in a company, and you want to see, you know, are they family friendly? I thought it'd be good to look at, you know, some of the indicators that you might look for. And also, if we're in organisations, you know, whether we're managing people or we've got colleagues who are having children, or, you know, we're in HR, what kind of things, you know, can we look for? What signs are there to show that our culture is inclusive for women? Because it's great, you know, that we're bringing women into tech careers, you know, with varying degrees of success. But if the culture isn't good and they're not able to feel that it's a good place to become parents and to stay after they've had their babies, then we'll lose them. Yeah, it has to be a good culture for them. Otherwise, you know, anybody that comes in is just going to think this isn't for me, and they're going to go into another sector, and we're going to lose these women. So what kind of things do we see? Well, we see women want to stay in an inclusive place. So they want to, they see people modeling behavior and attitudes that make them feel safe and able to have kids and be able to carry on their career. And we'll see, you know, more diverse range of people working there in an inclusive environment. Often we'll see flexible working. So I talked about this before, how important it is for women to have flexible working, because they're doing a lot outside the workplace, in the home, and they need to be able to work around that. And they're often the people that need to step up if there's an issue. So, you know, they need to prioritise that and be able to work around those responsibilities. And it's really important as well that it's not just working mums that are given flexible options, working patterns, and being able to work from home, say some or all of the time. It's good for them if this is across the board. Because when it's just working mums that are working flexibly, and it makes them feel, you know, kind of special and maybe different, that can be more challenging for them. It's awful, you know, if you're the only one doing that walk of shame, sort of late in the afternoon, you're the one that's got to go and pick a child up, you know, from childcare, and everyone else is sat at their desk and you're the only one walking out. And, you know, that makes people feel, you know, that they're not, well, that they're different, and that also they might be worried about losing that, see it as a privilege that only they've got that working pattern and they need to work extra hard to be able to keep it. So it puts them under a lot of pressure. So even if there aren't lots of women in the organisation, or there aren't, you know, working women with children, anybody can do flexible working. So if you've got people at senior levels doing that as well, that's really powerful. And, you know, and men working around their kids, or, you know, maybe taking shared parental leave, those kinds of things are really important, and make women feel that, okay, I can do what I need to do, and I'm not going to stand out and be different, and I'm not going to have to work, you know, twice as hard to keep that special working arrangement. And I guess that feeds into role models. You know, it's great if we've got women, you know, further up in the organisation or in the sector that have got kids and are showing that they can blend working life with family life. But, you know, maybe that's just not possible with the numbers. So anybody can be a role model, you know, showing that they're talking about their family, or spending time with their family, you know, taking time off for holiday or parental leave, taking time to go to sports day and things like that. You know, working those flexible hours can mean, you know, that they're a role model, even if they're not, you know, female, going back to work after having had a baby. All these things then feed into having a family-friendly reputation, one in which, you know, colleagues and employees will want to talk about the organisation as being family-friendly and encourage, you know, their friends and family to come and work there, because it's a great place to work. when you have children. And the company will be able to talk about those things that they're doing to help support families and parents, whether it's networks or flexible working. It can be, benefits, enhanced maternity benefit and paternity benefits, and so on. Yeah. And what we see there is that women are able to come and participate and be productive. So because they're able to, do everything that they want to do at work, whether that's get a promotion or go to a conference, or carry on their career pathway, or take on that juicy, interesting project, develop their skills. They're being productive, and that obviously benefits the organisation massively because they've got that talented, experienced person that they've recruited and that they want to keep, and that will continue to be productive, for years to come. And also what that means is that women have better well-being. So when they feel that they can blend working life with being a parent, then they're going to be happier and have a stronger well-being. So just to wrap up, really, here are some strategies for us all to use to be able to help with that. Yeah, so it's about organisations having family-friendly policies and clearly mapped out processes with an employee journey, so everybody knows kind of what support people need as they go through this maternity transition, and that managers are trained and HR are trained to be able to support women at those pinch points. Yeah, flexible working is embedded. I think as well it's important that people check their assumptions. So we talked about earlier how when people are pregnant and they're having a baby, or they're coming back to work working flexibly, it can make people maybe have stereotypes about their commitment to work. So we just need to be really careful that that's not happening with us, that we don't have those assumptions, and that we've got good communication with a returning mum, and we kind of know what she needs and what she wants, and we can work with her. Maternity cover is really important. It's really great if women are involved in their maternity cover. It helps them feel more safe when they go on leave, that they've got somebody there that they trust and that they'll be able to pick that back up easily when they come back. It's great to reorientate women when they come back and offer them support. So family networks, maybe a buddy or a mentor or a coach. That's something that I do for organisations. I offer one-to-one maternity coaching and support women through that transition to ease them in, so that they come back feeling able to blend their family life and work, and then they stay in their careers sort of longer term, and they can carry on. They don't go through that pinch point. Some organisations offer childcare support, and I think it's also really great if they can. If there's transparency around pay and promotion. That's something I see in my work, that when women are putting themselves forward for promotion, that they're really clear about what the criteria are, and that the process is really transparent, so that people, again, who are doing making these hiring decisions are not using or making assumptions or feeling that there's a stereotype here, and that's affecting their decisions. So there's lots of transparency around that. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We're back onto this start slide because I'm getting to the end now, and I just wanted to say thank you for coming and listening, and I hope that what we've shared here has helped you, whether you're a parent or you're working with returning mums, to have an idea of what they're going through and what's impacting on them, and also some strategies for helping, so that we can all be allies, and if we're women going through this transition, that we kind of have some ideas about what to ask for that might help us. If you've got any questions, please do get in touch. You can find me on LinkedIn. Thank you, and bye-bye.